Beautiful. Thank you very, very much. And bom dia, Brazil. Brazil is the land of Ra, Is, and Il. That's Israel. Okay? Pretty much like Brussels, Bra, S, Il. And when you look at these names of these countries, Australia, you will see that these names are named after all the gods of light. Everything goes back to light. The creator of everything, prime creator that is, creates through light. And so have a look at the names of these countries, dear friends, and you will see where Israel is hiding in all of these countries, because Israel is the neutron, the proton, and the electron, electrical force. Of course, countries are going to be named after electrical force, and nations. Nations coming from Na, salt, sodium, which is one of the key elements of creation and of our bodies, the 12 salts, the tissue salts of our body, etc. So we are natives born in a nation. This is why we're going to talk about the promised land. All scriptures talk about the promised land. You see, when the great Jehovah says to Moses, deliver my people, Moses, go down. You've been in the wilderness for 40 years. Of course, 40 years is that number of the sun on the ecliptic, every time it goes from season to season through the tropical points. Those days are numbered as 45, of course, 45-day segments in the 8-spoked wheel of the ecliptic. But, of course, these are reduced to 40. 40, of course, being the number of months of generation in the womb. It's the number, it's the ideal symbolical number of transformation, of change, of time allowed to pass so that we can achieve something. So you see, after Moses was contemplating in the wilderness for 40 years, Jehovah in the burning bush says, go down and deliver my people and bring them to the promised land that I've promised to their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so this promised land, dear friends, what is the promised land? Is it a land? Is it the earth? Is it heaven? Is it Canaan, where modern-day Israel is killing and slaughtering to take over the land piecemeal? Is that the land? Is that the promised land? We'll see. When we look at the fact that we were born into a nation as natives of a nation, not citizens of a country. You see, there are two systems concurrently operating. They always have. When empire exists, they always create the artificial system and draw us through their nets of enslavement into the artificial and take us out of the natural. Natural is God. Now, please, for the listeners who know syncretism, they know that when I refer to God, I'm not talking about prime creator. There are two gods, prime creator and second creator. And the world bows down to second creator, the demiurge. Demi begins with Adam. Just put an A in front of dem. Okay? And of course, if you've seen my atom presentations, you know that Tom means divided. Hence, the divine is divided. It's electricity. For all those who bow down and worship the electrical effect, they will be deluded. They are worshipping demi-gods, demiurge, demiurgos, the divided, divine God of illusion, Jehovah, Jesus, Buddha, Satan, Moses, Viracocha, Osiris. The unnamed one, the one, this one is prime creator. And you don't worship prime creator, you know directly prime creator. It has nothing at all whatsoever to do with belief and faith. It has to do with knowing and understanding. And so God is an anagram for generation, operation, dissolution, which is everything that electrical effect does. It begins, it has a middle bit, and then it has an end bit. Pretty simple, very simplistic, but that's how it works. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, the destroyer. Creator, preserver, destroyer. Birth, growth, decay. That's God. You want to worship that on his worship? Good luck to you, because you're going to have some pain along with pleasure. But the ones who slip out of two-ness, they find oneness. Neo found oneness because he made the right decision, ultimately. And so the choice is not to choose red and blue, to choose neither, and stay and remain in the white. So the promised land, you see, when God sends Moses down, he says, he gives him the law when they come out through the Red Sea and they are in the Sinai Peninsula. And he says, be careful when I take you to the promised land, that you do not follow the laws of the Canaanites and the Jebusites and the Perizzites and the Ammonites. Remember that word, Ammon. Ammon is the land. And so, do not forget my law. That was the commandment. That's all we need to do, is not to forget the law. What is this referring to? It's not referring to any codes, statutes, regulations, ordinances, enactments, bylaws, etc., and all of these positive law, artificial systems of man. It's referring to the law which is in our hearts, the law of truth, the law of love and honesty. Well, obviously, we none of us have forgotten how to love. We know what light is. We know all these things. So how is it that we have forgotten the law of God and not entered the promised land? Well, this is because we have accepted an artificial system and bowed down and done obeisance to this. There is the man/woman, man or woman, both contain the word man in them. The womb of man is the woman, and the child of woman is the man. And so both are men. Man comes from the hand, mano. And then hence we manifest, manufacture, manipulate, manage, maneuver. All the man things we do with our mans, our hands. But promised land, Ross. In English, Andrew, the man. A-N-D is an anagram for D-N-A, is an anagram for Dan. Dan, Daniel. In Japanese, Dansei means man. D-A-N, as it always has. The DNA. And so, when you put an L in front of and, by the way, if you put an H in front of and, you have the other man word, hand, because man is defined by his manu, his hand, and he is made of the sand of the earth, the minerals of the earth, hence he is a land mass. And so the promised land is nothing but the condition of unity and bliss that we find in our bodies, which Jesus reminded us, the kingdom of God is within. The kingdom of God is all-embracing. It means everything. The kingdom, domus, the Lord. All is within. All is within, and it is reflected without. So, when we come out of Egypt, Egypt is everything below the kidneys in the body. Libra on the ecliptic. Egypt is where you go through, when the sun goes through, starting from September 21st, the equinox, all the way to March the 21st, 180 days, 180 degrees of ecliptic, of winter and autumn. And that's Egypt. And when we come up out of the land of Egypt, the first sign we enter is Aries, the Lamb of God. Hence, what do the Jews do when they come out of Egypt? They celebrate the Passover of the Lamb. And they put, before they leave Egypt, they put they kill a lamb, the Passover lamb, and that very night they departed from Egypt. Blood on the doorposts to signify that the sun is passing through the lamb and slaying the lamb. Then the next sign, Taurus, we have Mithras killing the bull, Orion slaying Taurus, and all of the images of Taurus being slain through the spring months of April, March, April, May. And so the promised land is in reference to Aries. Aries corresponds with the highest part of the human body in the head, the cerebrum, the cerebran. And so when the sun is in the head, in Aries, in the springtime, in March, April, it has awakened from the sleep and the slumber of winter. And so symbolically, the children of Israel come up out of Egypt. And so, and enter the promised land. This figuratively is speaking about man waking from his sleep. You see, when Jesus says, let the dead bury their dead, you come and follow me. But the man was grieved and he said, no, I shall remain to bury my father and mother. That's the tradition. I ain't going to follow you yet, Jesus. Well, this is in reference to awakening, and then hence the reason why Jesus says, let the dead bury their dead. They're dead. They can bury themselves. Come, follow me. Spiritual light has no partaking in darkness. And so the letter L is from Elohim, the 12th letter of the alphabet. This is why Emmanuel, Jesus, has 12 disc eyeballs, or 12 post-uls, because those posts, those discs, are along the ecliptic. That's why when you look at your clock, you will see there are 12 hours, 12 Horuses on the clock, and 12 Horuses make one day. Day is Dei, God. And 365 days make one year. Year is short for Yah-Ram, or Jah-Ram, the Lamb of God. You see, lamb, when you exchange the B, the silent B, for a P, you have lamp. Because you see, the lamb, Aries, is Agnes. Agnes is pure. Pure is to purge. It's light. Pure light of the Empyrean. You see? This is why in your DNA you have pyrimidines and purines. What's the word pure doing in the nitrogen-based DNA strands? There's no accident, because they are created by Helios in the helix. And so your DNA, your Dan, your man bits DNA are speaking of the land, the promised land. And when we awaken our DNA and reactivate some of this, what they call rubbish DNA, of course, because scientists have rubbish in their brains, so they don't know how to explain what appears to be rubbish is dormant. And they say that we use 10% of our brains and the other is sleeping or dead or inactive. Well, that this is because they do not understand that once we awaken, our dormant brain cells are also awakened. But this can only happen through moderation, good living. And so when El, the Elohim, and by the way, Elohim means to twist, because every energy in existence is twisting, turning and twisting. turn is short for tun, atun. Just put the letter R in there, and you've got, from atun, you get turn, because the atom is turning. It turns and twists. And this is why L, the letter L, has to do with light, lamp, lamb, lamb of God, luminate, luminatrix, illuminate. And so when you put light, L, and DNA, you have land. And you have the promised land, defined by the hand, made of sand, minerals of the earth. This is why Cain was branded with a sign on his head, and he went to live in the land of Nod, backwards Don, Adon. Every word goes back to atom. If you haven't got that yet, you will. All words go back to atum, as the Egyptians told us. And the Hindus, they say Atma. Atma is an anagram for atom. And so, to inherit the promised land, DNA, things must be activated, things that are dormant, that have been dormant for many, many years. This is why we are required to stay separate from the world. And how have we tainted ourselves and fallen asleep? Through contracts, through personage, through the legal name and legal tender. We are legally bound, because legal means to bind. Legare. Funny how in Latin, legare, with an R, and legale basically mean the same thing. To tie and to bind. The L and the R always being interchangeable. And so, are we lawful or are we legal? Are we natural or are we artificial? It is known by the controllers, the sorcerers and the conjurers and the dark magicians of the Bar Society and the Vatican and all of these alphabet gangs, which will eventually perish in perpetual perdition due to their own stupidity and arrogance and killing desires and lust to murder and to intimidate human souls, to commit personage through the birth certificate name, so that they can warehouse these goods and make money from the bomb. Due to this, we have fallen asleep and bent knee. So there are two systems, dear friends, always. Empire, being an artificial construct, can never deal directly with the live man or the live woman. They can only harvest our energy through the person and through the crime of personage and barratry. Barratry is what the bar practice. They are the Rabbinim, the members of the bar. Rabbinim means the children of Ra, the inversive brethren. Their job it is to wake us up. They don't know that, of course, because they think they are here to steal as a coven of witches and a den of thieves. Den. Aden. And so they go along and steal energy through personage. Because you see, how they did this was at the moment of birth in a hospital run by the Knights the Hospitalier Knights and St. John and the Knights of St. Malta, which is just a military establishment. Birth certificates are given as a gift, as a benefice to the newly born, otherwise known as newly birthed. An organisation is created, hence there are two dates on the birth certificate, the born date and the birth date. And so these are generally 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks apart. It takes about 3 to 5 weeks to create the organisation of the legal name. And you will notice on the birth certificate there is a watermark. You see, water and land both have to do with the letter L. Liquid, liquids, and land. Water and earth. So what they've done is they've taken us from the promised land, out of the promised land, and put us onto a citizen ship floating on the water, hence the watermark. And they create this organisation, and they say, here you are, mother and father, there's a certificate of this organisation that was created. And mother and father carefully guard this certificate, keep it for their little child as it grows. And then the child says, Mum, Dad, I want to do some commerce in this big bad world. I need to interface and earn a living, as they tell me to do in school. You must earn a living on this earth. It's not free. Don't you look at the animals and how everything is given to them freely. We're different. We're intelligent. We have to pay. So give me that birth certificate, Mum and Dad, because I need that to get a license and practice licentious things that are unlawful otherwise. And let me go off into the land of Canaan and commit the act of personage, because I've forgotten the laws of God, for you never taught me. You told me that this person is going to be very important to be interfacing with all of these groups and alphabet agencies, and you can get things, benefits, because the birth certificate, after all, is a Catholic benefice, and you can enjoy many, many benefits from this benefice. For you have been turned into a parson, which very quickly becomes a person. Person always carries a purse to pay and is asked to pay. Pay for this, pay for that. Here's a tax, here's a rate, here's a toll, here's a fee. Pay the toll, if you want to cross the river. And so each and every time we use that name, we are committing fraud. We are fraudsters. Hence the judge, the conjurer, the sorcerer, who inquires about who is present in the dead ship, the courtroom, the church of the blasphemous, unholy Roman Catholic Church, which is the Inquisition and indulgences. Every financial instrument created, every derivative on the bond market is an indulgence. Hence, people are buying and paying their way to get into heaven, which is ultimately hell. Therein lies the deceit. And so, off we go, like the prodigal son, with the prostitutes and the drunkards and the harlots, and we're having a great old time committing personage. Some of us go to jail. What a benefit. Others have to get bankrupted and have to pay mortgages to banksters who live in Switzerland and rape little children. But, hey, we've got a nice house. Look at my furniture. Got that through the bank. Lovely, those banks. I have what's called a mortgage, a death pledge with the banks. I've signed my soul to the devil. But look at my house. 3 stories. Next door, I only have 2. But me, I look good outside. Very ostentatious. This is why in the book of John it says, the love of the world and its desire will lead to destruction. The ostentatious, showy display of one's livelihood is enmity with the Creator. Because we own everything and we have use of everything after all. And so the concept of owning through papers and certificates is for buffoons. And the buffoons, they love it. They chase these things through personage, for they'd forgotten the law of God, the law of the Creator, rather, not God, prime Creator. And so when these conjurers supposedly honourably throw you in jail because, well, after all, you were the one who joined yourself to the name. We are the ones who join ourselves to a name. Everything that is named is branded. Everything that has names is branded. You see, when Adam, and Eve named the animals, and they named everything, they brought everything into this subjectivity, you see, and lost dominion. And that's why Cain had to go off and have a nod. And all of us that have been branded with this name are living in the land of Nod with the Canaanites. You see, Canaan is the Canaanite, the canine, the dog. Dog is backwards for God. So to be a dog means not to be God. It's a mirror image. And if we want to be gods, or lamps of light, we must reflect that light. And to reflect that light, you cannot live in darkness. The birth certificate name is enveloped in darkness. It is a name which is operating in limited liability. Hence all the scams associated with the name. Insurance, financial schemes, profits, usury. You see, when we use that name, we are committing usury. So the banksters are not guilty because we are complicit in their crime. You see, thieves and evildoers, they have a way to engage you in their crimes, and so you participate, and then they can point their finger back at you. You see, so all those judges out there throwing those young boys committing personage into jail, and they're just doing the work of the do evil, the devil. And this is because they don't have the soul evolution to escape the nasty karmic contracts that they have entered into. And so, dear friends, I would be looking at this artificial system and learning how to escape from Babylon the Great. Because baby London is where your birth certificates are being held. Yeah. The Phoenicians/Venetians brought their insurance bonding scam to London in the 1600s to set up a financial system, baby London, Babylon, that would enslave all of humanity under the auspices of the Catholic Universal Church. The New World Order, dear friends, has been around for a while. It's not new, it's not anything to do with order, and it is definitely a world. It's not Earth, planet Earth, it's a world of fiction, and everyone bows down to this world of fiction. They love it. Buying and selling, eating and drinking, building houses, being given in marriage until the flood comes and sweeps them all away. The flood of consciousness is sweeping away many, dear friends. Look around. Look around at the people that are sleeping. The scriptures say the dead shall rise, but many are not rising to the occasion. Many are still persecuting their brothers, i.e. policemen. Rather, police officers. An office is an office of the Inquisition. There has never been other offices. Offices all belong to the Inquisition. It's a Catholic vestment, a Catholic garment. The police officers are Catholic inquisitional officers, period. Ministers also. Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Defence, Ministry of Finance. All of these ministers we see. Do you think these public servants are have a sworn oath to protect living men and women? Maybe. But that's going by the wayside, folks. It's slipping from our fingers. Most of these police officers now have an oath to their crown, which is a corpse corporation. Dead artificial contrivance. We need to go and find the promised land. It was promised, but also forgotten. And now it's up to us to enter the promised land. And so to deal with legal tender, legal tender, legal binding, and legal name, one must be wise and cautious. Okay, because there are many, many ways to deal with this name. And I cannot possibly discuss all the many and varied ways in which many, many enlightened beings are entering the promised land now by dealing with that name. You see, a brand, when you brand your cattle, your stock, you are claiming ownership of them, you see. A name, and in particular the surname, the surety name, is your branding. That's the land of nod, nodding off, going to sleep. Time for waking. I'm resolved. My stance is will be philosophical, because I am a philosopher. I love wisdom. I don't despise wisdom. I despise those who despise philosophy. And so my philosophical stance will be to have nothing to do with name. Absolutely nothing to do with name. I will be called various things, but I will not be named. I will not partake of name, of any kind of name, branding. In Egyptian, the word name is spelled Nome, exactly the same as the Italian word, nome. Know me. None at all. Absolutely know me. And so in Egyptian, the word nome, or nome, Nome, means a section of terrain of a nation. And so each individual one of us, since we carry sand, minerals from the land, the nation which we come from, we are natives of that land. And so, since we partake of the nation, and as the Egyptians say, know me means a section of terrain, we have DNA and minerals from the land in which we were born. Hence we are sections of terrain of a nation. So a section of terrain of a nation is where one has entered the promised land if they know that they are not in admiralty law, but they are in natural law, divine, universal law. Because the watermark of the birth certificate is a baptism into the Catholic Church, dear friends. It's a baptism. To baptize means to submerge underwater. And so when we come up out of the water because we're lost at sea, when you're lost at sea, you're under the water because you're dead under the water. And when you enter a court, a church of the Catholic diocese, you are considered to be Catholic universal property. And if you have anything to do with that name, which is a Catholic benefice and hence property of the parson, you will have to render an account to the one who is hearing and officiating officer of the court, because you now are using property which does not belong to you. Hence, the most powerful defense that you can have against this system would be to understand that that name, your birth certificate name, does not belong to you. Many of our sovereign, so-called sovereign and freemen and all this kind of people that are beautiful people that are trying to escape from Babylon the Great have come to learn this, but have fallen into the trap of words again and again and stabbed themselves over with many pains by not understanding how to explain that the name does not belong to them. And they will say things like, I am not that name. You see, when you make a statement and you say, I am not that name in court, well, then you need to bring evidence and you need to prove that because you've made a statement. So the worst thing you could say is, I am not that name. But rather, that name does not belong to me. And better still, to put it in a question, is there any evidence? See, this is where the authorities in the artificial fictional system believe that they have the authority to do so, but they don't, because Jason obviously must be registered, you see. So, or is he, if he's married, he may have a marriage certificate, you see, and this is registered. So they claim through Pope Boniface's papal bull that the Universal Church owns souls, bodies, property, chattel, and everything, you see. So because they are laying a claim to Jason, and if he's got a wife, his wife, through the marriage certificate or through their birth certificates, they are trying to intimidate him to get to his children. He needs to identify his children as property, his property. If he claims that they are his children or any other word other than property, he will have trouble. So, because nations are there to protect your property, if you stand as a man and not a person. Did Jason use a lawyer? Did Jason create joinder to the person when he was standing before the judge? See, Jason must understand that he must not commit personage, and he must separating himself from any ownership of the name, and he must clearly establish that that name is not his property. So when they processed him in court, they processed a dead fiction, and they're trying to steal children, which is an object, whereas property, which is a part of chattel, whereas property is not part of chattel. Your true property, if you define it as property, he will have success. You see, this is where little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. But Jason simply needs to differentiate his person from his living soul body, and they have no jurisdiction over this, however. So, yeah. And so, as I said before, there are many different schools out there and ways of dealing with this name. As for me, my stance is all that matters to me. I'm not offering my example for anyone to follow at all, because I love wisdom and philosophy, and I hate Babylon the Great. So my position will be to remove myself from name, remove myself entirely, come what may. I don't care whether the so-called authorities think that they can still harass me and come after me. I will make my statement known to the universe that I am vacating offices, agencies. I will be the agent of no one, nobody, no entity. I am me, I am no name, and I will continue to live freely forever in the universe. And should they decide that that's not good enough for them because somewhere they believe I've signed a contract with equal consideration and that I am obliged to be on their ship. That's their business, and they will incur the perennial perdition which will come from that. And if they attempt to steal the property of Jason, who has the right to administer his life as he chooses, as a good father, they will also wreak havoc upon their own lives, and they will go off into perdition and everlasting destruction as they choose. Time now to stop using personage to enslave others, because these criminals have no other way of enslaving others but through the act of personage. So why should we participate? That's my position. And Jason is a hero, the son of Jah, the ram. He is a hero. So there's the hour, I believe, and so we can do some question and answers. But the Promised Land, being the theme of today's show, is the place where we are, the Promised Land, the land of our DNA. And this is our sacred possession, dear friends. Our bodies, our souls, our knowledge, our wisdom and understanding, our love. And we can only just do one thing, and that is to bear a light in this world. And if it works, well and good. If it doesn't, because the controllers don't want to change their ways and don't want to accept our love and our offer of a truce and a treaty, and to stop harming we the living and they the dead, because each time they commit the act of personage and intimidate us into committing this treasonous act against ourselves and Creator, they are harming themselves. So we have no choice, dear friends, but we have no choice, and that the only choice we have is to embrace the light, do what is right. What is right is to not act, which is So you don't have to. It's not yours to do. It's whoever brings the case has the onus to bring evidence and proof. So unless see, this is where people fall into a big mistake. They get intimidated in the church, the court, and they allow persons to sue persons, you see. So when you understand how you must remain on the land and not enter the ship and assert your rights, or at least, that's if you're going to go to court, you should never go to those places. Never, ever. Never accept an invitation. That's all offers and invitations to go. Never do this, because that's better it is not to go and be dragged in than it is to go and get remedy, because you have only gotten remedy through personage anyway. But the point is, you don't have to prove that name doesn't belong to you. They do. So this is how, if you know who you are not and you're dragged into court, you will know how to ask the right questions. Is there a man or a woman present today that is claiming that I own that name? And there will not be a man or a woman under the skies that will come forward. An officer, an agent, an entity will. They will come in and point to you and say, you're that person. Okay? Well, they won't actually, because that would be a crime. You see, many people have succeeded in court by saying, may the prosecution please point to the defendant. Well, the defendant can't be pointed to, because the defendant is a piece of paper. So the onus is not up to you. You need to ask the right question. If the judge is saying, I don't accept that name doesn't belong to you, well, sir, or you could say, well, Is there a living man or a woman here today that is claiming that that name belongs to me? Is there proof? I have not seen proof or evidence that that name belongs to me. Because that's the only way they can get you. The only way. They will not break the law unless you do first. And once you do, once you join your sweat equity, your soul, your divine light, to that name, which is a Catholic benefice, then they can do whatever they want, and they are in honor. Well, supposedly. So this is where one needs to have much knowledge and to stand on the land. There you go. There's another word, stand. ST are the two final letters of the Hebrew alphabet. One is the S is the serpent, and the T is the cross, the serpent on the cross. So, and the ST are at the end of the alphabet, which means that one who stands, man is able to stand on 2 feet, right? So the andros, who can stand, he is the one who is bearing the cross of the stavros. The cross in Greek is called stavros, the stake. And so our bodies is in the shape of a cross when we outstretch our arms. And so this is the stand that we make. So when we have standing on the land, they cannot touch us. Dear friends, the unnamed one is the true sovereign. And so don't go about looking for names, brands, titles, offices, ministries. All these belong to Babylon the Great. Get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share with her in her sins. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. There's no other word under the heavens. It's the first word. It's the place where all thoughts, things, and words come from. Nothing is born through God, generation, operation, dissolution, except through Atum, or Adam, or Aten, or Amen, Amun. All of these words, all of them, are specializations or aspects of the one and only original word, atom. The word atom contains the 5 elements: ether, fire, earth, water, and air and water, in that order. The letter A is ether, magnetism. The T, the vertical member, is fire coming down from heaven, masculine. All masculine is vertical. All feminine is horizontal, the horizon, earth. So when you see the letter T, the upright member is fire, and the horizontal member is earth. And then the O is for air, because the air is circular. And then the M of atom is marine, maritime, water, because the M depicts the waves of the water. And so when Jesus says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, and he gets crucified on a cross, you see, that means that the letter A and the Om at the end of atom is the Alpha and the Omega. And the T is the crucifixion of cause and effect. It's the crucifixion of spirit and body, which we possess. We all have been crucified. We all have bodies of liquid, solid, gas, and radiance. Fire, air, earth, and water. We all possess these. Many creatures do not. Elementals, for instance, sylphs, salamanders, gnomes, and things like this, they only have one element, and they long to be like the humans, and they serve us. because we are of the 4 rivers of the Garden of Eden. We have bones that are solid. We have flesh that is solid. We have liquid. Our bodies are made of water, which is liquid. We have gas in our body. That's the oxygen that permeates all of the body, even nitrogen. We breathe 78% of the air we breathe is nitrogen. And so we are of gas, and we are radiance, energy. You see, every atom in our anatomy is electrical, radiant. It's the Lamb of God, the lamp of God. This is why the lamb is the most holy of all the animals, but also is the bull, the cow, both of them, because they are in the head, Aries and Taurus, in the cranium. And so the lamb is the cerebrum, and the bull is the cerebellum. And these are this is heaven head in our bodies. And so, but they also represent nitrogen and oxygen, which we breathe. And the other element of air is argon, 1%. And argon is Argos, the boat, the ark of Noah. If you want to know who Noah is, just look up the Egyptian god Nu, N-U. Google images of Nu, and you'll see that he's holding up a boat, an ark, with 7 souls in it. And so you see Noah, has been around for billions of years. It wasn't just, 3,700 years ago, as the Christian churchgoers will tell you, that Noah and his ark, because the Egyptians have got depictions of Nu and his ark above his head with 7 souls in it, 8 souls, for gazillions of years. And so, but that ark is argon, because argon is the element that unites all other elements throughout the universe. Argon is everywhere, permeating the whole universe. It's the boat, it's the ark. And argon is the 18th element in the periodic table. 18 is 666. Yeah, as above, so below. Man is the measure of the universe. We are made of atoms, the universe is made of atoms. Atom is everywhere. The word Tom, as in Thomas, means twin. You see? And if you want to know how it is that atom is the word of God, look at it backwards. How do the French say word? Do you know the French word for word?
No
backwards
idea.
for atom. Mot. Mot. The French say bon mot. M-O-T. They don't pronounce the T, but the word in French for word is mot. And in English we say to mutter. When you mutter something, that's backwards for Tom. So it is the word, because in every language, Tom, backwards, mot, means word. When you mutter something, what about a myth? What's a myth? It's a story of words. M-I or M-Y-T. It always has this M-T, or forward, Tom. Because Tom, when you ask a drummer, why does he play his tom-toms? When you ask a symphony why they have timbales and timpanis and tambourines and dom-doms and dim-dims and dam-dams, every percussive instrument in the universe is called, drum, tom-tom, tambourine, trumpet, drum, dam-dam in China, djembe in Africa, dambek in Lebanon, tamburi in Italy. Drums are called tamburi. Tamburista is a drummer. Why is always tum, 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 tom, tom, tim, tom, tam? Because that's what atoms do. They make a little big bang. And you see, because white light, when it divides, the first thing it does is it makes a percussive consonant. T, d, and then it rounds off. Tom, dom. This is why the Lord is called Domus. Demigod. Thomas means twin. Demi means half. because electricity is halved. It's a two-force, which comes from the one power of magnetism. Okay, that's why it's not worth worshipping the Lord. When the Bible talks about the Lord, run away, dear friends. Don't worship the Lord, Domus, the twin force of electricity, duality, because you're going to get stuck in there. We need to know Prime Creator. No names. No names. Do not partake of name, friends, or you will be named. They will name you. They'll brand you straight away. A heretic.
Okay.
A fraudster. Yeah. Well, we are going to partake of this consciousness, this Promethean fire that is coming to destroy unconsciousness, because we're on the road. We're on the path. We need to stay on the path. Hold true. Love the light and love truth. And live a moderate life. Don't overdrink and overeat and overindulge, and withdraw from the senses and the emotions and thinking, and do a little bit of meditating. Give yourself some time to know who you are, to know what spark of divine beauty lies within. Withdraw from all these exciting things, because not that we shouldn't have anything to do with exciting things, and we shouldn't have a drink of beer or from time to time, but just be moderate. I mean, moderation is, again, mod is backwards for dom, and we are the moderators and the dominators and domesticators. All of these words go back to Atom. We moderate our lives. We have dominion. We domineer or our lower nature. So we are already, no need to ask and plan and you scratch your head and think about how to do this. It's natural. It's going to happen anyway. And so the way to get into the promised land is to accept it, and test all truths, question authority, because there's no such thing as authority. That Judeo-Christian God who sits on the throne and pretends to be the boss of everything and wants to control everything, that doesn't exist. That's the fictional system, the monotheistic aberration that they have invented. Prime Creator does not partake in anything like that. He gives us the free will. We have the free will, and no one shall trespass. And we will know how to not allow anyone to trespass. We will know how to contract and how to, make the offers of contract, because that's what's happening to us. They are putting us into adhesion contracts without our knowledge. These are lopsided, unlawful contracts which we are fallen into simply because we don't know who we are not. We are not that person. And so, let them prove that we are, which they can't. No man can in a true court of law. Now, the seventh name is All, A-double-L, which the Islamists say Allah, because the seventh name encompasses the other six. And so, as I've said in my presentations, all names, all of them, go back to Atom and the sun. Atum is the sun. That's what Akhenaten taught us when he called it Aten. If you put an S in front of Aten, you have Saturn, because they are the twins, Horus and Set, Jesus and Satan, Sun and Saturn. And because one is the satellite, that's why they call satellites after Saturn, and they tell you a Sat-El, because El is the name of Saturn. That's why they call them satellites. Light is what they produce. So a satellite, Saturn, is the satellite of the sun, and they are brothers. And so all these names, they all go back to the sun, every one of them, and they are specializations of the sun's light. So let's go through all the six names, and I'll show you how. Can you give me one of them again? Okay, well, there you go. Thomas is Atom. Thomas is the twin, and everything that is born of cause is an effect, and the effect is the plane to duality polarity. Thomas didymus. Dymus is domus, and domus is Domenica, and Domenica is Sunday. Day is God, deis. So all the 7 days, the 7 gods of the week, they all culminate in the one. And so what's the next name? Yep, beautiful. Norman, man, Arman. So let's just take the N and the R out of Norman, and you have Oman. Amen, Amun, whatever, doesn't matter. It is Norman is the man, just as Thomas is the man, because, well, let's have a look at, I already showed you how in Japanese, Dansei is the man, which is, Dan is an anagram for and, DNA, and Andros is the man, as Andrew is the man. And so Norman is the man, which comes from the atom. Next name? Okay. Rich, and it finishes with ARD, which is very much resembles Dan, but rich is the light. The light is rich. Another way of saying Richard is Richmond. A rich mond is a rich world. Mond is the world, and it's an anagram for DOM. Again, the world is dom. It's a domicile. It's a kingdom. The domicile of man. The mansion of man. The place where he lives. His home. Atom is a home. And the way the French call man is om. So those Hindus, they're just saying man in French. But this is the point. There aren't languages. There is just one language, the language of light. So rich ard is the rich light of gold. Gold is, the golden light of the sun is what makes rich. Gold makes you rich, yeah? Well, that's light. Okay, next name. Henry. Henri in, the old French. Henri. Henry is, Re is Ra. You see? And her is basically the H, all letters have to do with light, all letters, but it's how they deal with light. So Henri, on is, well, aton, and on Ra is on, and Ra, the god of light, the sun, you see? On or om are interchangeable. Next one. Right, Beth is the house, and El is light. So you can see actually, like the name Russell, Ra, Isis, and El, like I said before, Brussels is the seat of world judiciary, isn't it? Because Jews of Brussels, Ra, Isis, and El, run the judiciary in their juries, wearing all of their jewelry. You see, they are the crafty ones who craft false law. You see, and so of course they're going to have their seat in Brussels. You see, and they're going to have their summits in Brazil and Australia, Isis, Ra, and Elia, El. And so Elizabeth, the house of El, is the sun. It's the house of El is Aries or Leo, because the sun is exalted in Aries and it's domiciled in Leo. You know, Bethlehem the house of the Lamb, is also Aries. Elizabeth, or Beth of, Bethel, is just a flipped around way of saying Elizabeth. Jones, Jehovah and On. John is the same. John means the beloved of Jehovah, but On is the son. It always was. In Egypt, there was a city called On. The Greeks came along and named it Heliopolis, the sun. So Hones, it's funny because it also has to do with phonetics. Phonies, Jonies. It's sound and light. Jones means sound and light because On is the sun. That's why you turn the light on to mimic on the sun. It's all. It's like your chakras, okay? Let's do the chakras. The top one's called Allah, the crown chakra, Kronos. That's why you Islamists go anti-clockwise around the Kaaba Allah, Kabbalah. They go to the Kaaba and they walk around it and they say Allah, 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 because Allah means the all. Atum means the all. God or creator is the all. He is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. So when they go to the crown, Kronos, Saturnian Kaaba and say Allah, it's one and the same. It's the crown chakra. And the bottom chakra, this is from you might want to write these down. This is from the bottom chakra, the base chakra, to the crown. This is the names. Lam, Lam. Vam, V-A-M. Ram, the solar plexus is the Ram. R-A-M, Ram. The heart chakra is Yam, Y-A-M. The throat chakra is Ham, H-A-M. The pineal gland, or the third eye, is Om. And then the crown chakra is A-double-L, all, Allah.
Excellent, Santos. What a great breakdown. Wonderful, wonderful. Keep up the good work. Thanks very much.
Hey, can you, John, so those 6 names: Thomas, Norman, Richmond, Jones, Elizabeth, and what was the other one?
Henry.
I'm just making a note of it, that's all. Just because you will find that the English have this tradition, but you'll find that everyone else has that tradition too. Okay, everything is 7. Everything's a septenary. 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 colors of the chakra, 7 musical notes, 7 visible planets. 7 is the number that God loves more than every other number because it's the number of material physicality. Matter is backwards for tam, mat, tam. And what is tam is tom, atom. Okay, so all matter is about 7. All mind is the number 12. The 12 signs along the ecliptic. Yeah, like the dyslexic Satan worshipper who sold his soul to Santa. Nothing is off topic. Everything is syncretized. The 7 archangels, the 7 archons, the 7 Elohim. By the way, Elohim means lamb and to twist. Lamb and to twist. Lamp, twisting. Light, twisting. That's all that's going on. Nothing else is happening. It's the lamp, light, the Lamb of God, twisting. And those twisters, those worlds, whirling words, are the 7 planets. Gabriel, the moon. Raphael, Mercury. Michael, the sun. Samael, Mars. Ariel, Jupiter. Cassiel, Saturn. And I missed Venus. Can someone help me? That's they are immortalized in the days of the week. Sun day, moon day. Mars day is Tuesday, martedi. All right, Mardi Gras. Yes. Mardi Gras happens on a Tuesday. Tu is Mars. Wednesday is Woden, Mercury. Thursday, Jupiter. Friday, Venus. Saturn's day, Saturn. And so those seven, the Elohim, are everywhere. As Manly P. Hall says, we can't escape but seeing the world as a septenary, for we are a septenary. Everything is seven. Seven diatonic musical notes within 12 chromatic musical notes. 7 and 12, 7 and 12, body and mind, body and spirit, forever in the universe. 7 and 12, the holy numbers. 7 is the letter G, G7, and 12 is the letter L. G and L, gold. You see, God. Generation, operation, dissolution. Don't be worshippers of God, guys. You'll be on the warship to perdition. Be knowers of Prime Creator. Yeah, because the scriptures already tell you that God will come to destroy those who do not know Prime Creator. It's clear in the scriptures. It says that in Corinthians. They will be destroyed in that fire will consume them. Consciousness fire. They will remain unconscious. And they're already being consumed as you look around. Feel pity for them. Don't do anything but really have empathy for these ones, because they know not what they are doing and they are perishing in their ignorance, because the Promethean fire and consciousness that is coming is destroying them in terms of not actively destroying them, passively, because they are destroying themselves by not accepting the consciousness that is coming, and they are still acting in person. They do everything in person. You see? It is. It's magnetic oneness, unity consciousness. We are speaking about it now. We are directly knowing it now. All words come from Sun. Everything. There ain't no word that has ever been produced that does not come from the Sun. Everything comes from the Sun. The Sun is the ruler of the universe. Yeah, look, so-called masculine numbers, odd Adam numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so-called feminine numbers, even numbers, Adam and even, Adam and Eve, do different work. The odd numbers are not divisible, so they are uniting and they are keeping things together. The feminine numbers are doubling and dividing, and so they do the opposite work. But you can't pull one of those numbers out and isolate it as more important than any of the others, because the septenary does one thing. The Ogdode, you remember in Hermopolis in Egypt, they worship the Ogdode, the 8 gods. And then in Memphis, they worship the Ennead, the 9 gods. And then, there's also worship of the god of the number 10, Aten. And there's also the dozen. Dozen is pretty much, you can see Don in there. But the dozen, 12, is the letter L and the god of light and the completion of the ecliptic. So all numbers have their work. As for these people who go around saying, oh, everything happens in 9 octaves, everything happens in number 10, no, 12, no, 7. They're just looking and isolating. They're looking at one thing. They're not syncretizing. They're specializing in one number. Sure, everything happens. Yeah. But it's true, not that it's not true. If someone comes and says everything happens in 9, accept that it's true, because it is. But at the same time, they're not seeing what's happening in 10. Okay, I hope I understand that correctly. The ones who are lying about the Bible, you see, there is no churchgoer on this planet that doesn't suffer with cognitive dissonance. Because no matter how dim they are in light, dim, adim, because dim means light, no matter how much they have drunk from the cup of oblivion when they incarnated, they still know Prime Creator. Otherwise, they wouldn't be walking around. They wouldn't have vital atomic force in their bodies and breath. So you will always suffer with cognitive dissonance, no matter what church you go to. Church is Churche, Kirke, and she is the moon, and that is the church. Mary the moon, Magdalene the moon, and she turns men into swine. Okay? So church is producing swine, sheeple and chattel, who are going to church in person. You see, there's no church out there that says, hey guys, do you realise you have a birth certificate with a water baptism mark on it, made on bond paper, and you have legally been bound to Babylon, baby London the great city that rules the whole planet? No, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't tell their dupes that. The Baptists don't tell their dupes that. They don't tell them that they're just a corporate umbrella under Rome, Vatican. No, they don't. And they're preaching a literal Jesus that's coming in the clouds, which will never happen because the clouds are in your head. They are the cerebrum and the cerebellum. And if he's coming in there to awaken the dormant brain cells. It's not coming out in those clouds as a man. And so what they are teaching always provokes cognitive dissonance, and they will always have their doctrinal dogmatic truths spewed from the pulpit by pedophile priests, and then they will have the pure light of truth which is natural in their hearts, and there will always be dissonance between the two. So if they want to get out of Babylon the Great, they have to get out of churches and stop being swine. Yeah, well, it's known that it was a Christian mob, but rest assured it was not a true... it wasn't the natural Gnostic Christian mob of Alexandria. That because Christianity, as Jerome, one of the fathers of the church, 4th century, Jerome, mentioned, there never was a time in the universe when Christianity did not exist, because Christianity is Christ, is crystal, and the universe and our bodies are carbon crystals. Carbon 12 crystals. So we're all Christ because we are made, our structure is carbon, 6, 6, 6. 6 electrons, supposedly, protons and neutrons. 18, 666. So it wasn't the true Gnostic Christian church. It was the literal Gnostic church of the Julians and the Flavians, which is well documented. There's more than enough evidence. It can't be hidden anymore. These literalist Christians, and not only the Julians in the 1st century and the Flavians in the latter half of the 1st century, the ones who built the Flavian amphitheatre, the Colosseum, and all that bloodletting, Vespasian, Titus and Domitian, 30 years of hell on earth and bloodshedding. Not only that creepy family, but the Constantine family that made up the donation of Constantine. His mother, Constantine Helen, she went to Jerusalem and she created Nazareth, which didn't exist in the 1st century. She created the tomb of Jesus. She placed all of these literal places on the map, not that they weren't already there, because every town is named after the celestial gods and has a Jerusalem, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They are all made after the heavens. So, of course, Jerusalem is going to have all of these tombs and places and holy places. They all do. They all do. There's nothing unique about Jerusalem. Jerusalem means Heru, which is Horus, Hiram, hero, Heru, Salem, the peace of Hiram, Heru, Hiram. And everything is Horu, Horus, hour, Horus, light, the god of light, Hiram, Yaram, etc. And so these literal places which were copied from the celestial, the true gospel, they have nothing to do with the true story. So literal half-truths do not compare to literary full truths. And so, as the scriptures say, the literary vivifies. So, unless Yeah. All right. Well, if it's still good, let me continue. Otherwise, jump in and stop me. What I was saying was the scripture says that the letter of the word kills, but the spirit, literary, word, vivifies. So until churchgoers who have been turned into swine by church wake up and inherit the promised land, they will only comprehend the literal, you see. And this is why citizens, young men, go off to fight wars for their country. A country is a fictional corporate piece of paper with borders on it. See, they're not going as men and women to fight for their nation. You see how words have caused so much bloodshed? All these young men, I'm going to fight as a citizen of my country, to defend my country. Well, a citizen's a piece of paper, which you can never be, and the country's a piece of paper, so they're going to fight for a piece of paper. And it doesn't matter what that paper says. What your heart says overrides because it's living. So does your heart say it's good to kill these different coloured people who we flew thousands of miles in the air to land on their nation to murder? I don't think so. And if any of those boys who have fought for Halliburton and Blackwater go back sane to their countries, sane means in one piece, good luck to them, because I think they are destroyed for billions and billions of years, any of that murder, unless, of course, unless they truly have repented and have truly emptied out that slaughter that they carried out. And that's possible. That is more than possible. But rest assured that many of them, poor souls, are lost due to killing for a piece of paper, a country. Yeah, brother, look, the churches are always telling you that the coming one, they're always talking about the coming one, aren't they? Oh, he's coming in the clouds. Oh, well, that's because that's what atom means. Tom is tomorrow. Domus is domani, demain in French. Domani in Italian. Mañana in Spanish, but the man is always there. Mañana, domus, domani. So they're always worshipping the boy energy of tomorrow. But Tom backwards is mother, and that's the past energy of the feminine energy. Whereas we should be in the now. You see, now is an anagram for one, W-O-N. And when you take the one off, the W off, you end up with on, which is one. On is one. And so, if you want to be in the one, do not be worshipping the coming one, domani, tomorrow, Thomas, domus, or the backward one, which is really, the feminine past energy, you see. So let us not be caught up with this. He's coming in the clouds. It's now. There's no need for waiting. There's no need for this blasphemous, patriarchal, hierarchical boy energy to dominate us anymore. We are the hermaphrodite ones. Adam is a madam. Don is a donna. You see? Adon is a boy and a girl. You see? So, let's not play these word games, folks. Everything is in the white light. When you understand that every word has a neutral gender and a masculine and a feminine, you will understand that. Just take the example of atom. Atom means not cuttable, neutral, one, cannot be cut. Thomas the twin, is cuttable. And so Tom is a boy, and backwards, mot, mother, is a girl. Mot is the French word for word. To mutter, to make a myth, say something, a motto. What's a motto? It comes from your mouth, M-O-U-T, mouth, mot, motum, which is the Latin word for to mutter. Funny how it's got mot, M-O-T, and then tum, T-U-M. So mot, backwards for tom, motum, in one word, motum, to mutter, which comes from atomic tom-toms. So if you want to make a word, a motto, backwards for tom, go ahead. But the problem is, we are better not to be speaking words, but to be knowing truth. Because in the abundance of words as they say, is the trap of deceit. And that's what the sorcerers and the conjurers, the bar, who need to do 20 years of jail time each because they are committing personage, which is fraud and attempted murder, 20 years behind bars for the bar. That's why the bars were made, to put the bar behind. Never separate, never ever separate, but we're the ones who separate themselves are like an electrical appliance that is switched off at the plug. But even though we are connected, we are still individuals. There is the ego of the individual and there is the ego of the personality. The personality. So you see all these personalities out there, you know, movie stars, rock stars, and all these glorious people with their Ferraris and mansions and money and, oh, look at me, look at me. They are ego trippers because they are in the lower ego of the personality. They are not in the higher personality of the individual. And once we have individualized God's light in a soul form, we get to keep it forever, as long as we do not lose our souls. You can lose your soul. The sublime atoms that make up each one of our souls are able to fragment and be dissipated in the mist. Mist is backward for tin. You see, because we are made of the mist, the waters of the mystery. And so you want to keep your individuality? Get in the higher ego, you see, of the spirit, and not in the lower personality. He that respects persons is sinning, according to the scripture. God is not a respecter of persons, neither is the queen. Oh, yeah, that's a good word. That's a good question, because the letter R, Resh, is the head. So you would think the head is at the start, and so why isn't there a letter R over there, where it should be, with the abracadabra? Because cadabra is definitely there. The letter R is the rhotic liquid. Some consonants are liquids because they have a liquid continuous sound, like the letter S. Sh, r, l. But the R and the L, which are interchangeable across all languages on this planet, are the rhotic and the lateral liquids. The rhotic and the lateral are the most powerful creative sounds in the universe. The letter R and the letter L. Hence, Israel makes for a real world where you can reveal, where you can revel, where you can be a rebel, where all of this Ra-El stuff is going on, proton and electron. Pyroton, the fireton, ton, and electron, right? You notice there, you see the electron is the girl side, the material side that makes elements. Elements come from protons and electrons. So the children of Israel, neutron, proton, electron, are nothing but the elements, gold, silver, etc., etc. And so the letter R is the rhotic sound which causes that certain vibration which other letters cannot do. You know, it's only the R. It's so unique. And so that sound, very, very vibratory, vibrate, reverberate. There's the word verb, the word. There it is in the word reverberate. Okay, sound, vibration. It is the principle of abrasion. Now, see my presentation last week called Abracadabra, because the 7 Elohim are causing abrasion. That's why they are called Abraxas. Abraxas was the ancient name of this supreme deity. Abraxas has 7 letters. When you add the gematria value of Abraxas, it comes to 365. Abraxas, Google the word Abraxas, and you will see a strange creature, a composite creature, just like the 7-fold creature that John beheld in Revelation chapter 1, where he saw God, you know, with all these abstract forms like Abraxas. Well, Abraxas means abrasion, which is what Abra is doing, abracadabra. The letter R there is causing the friction, again, fra, bra, to fabricate the universe. Abracate, fabricate. It's how the universe is made. And so abracadabra with a very prominent R, resh, twice, the rhotic liquid, is prominent in the start of the alphabet but it's also prominent at the end of the alphabet, where Q, R, S, T, U all line up at the end of most languages on the planet, including Hebrew and Aramaic, which end with Q, R, S, T. Okay, now in English we have Q, Y, W, X, Y, Z, but nonetheless, that word Christu, Q-R-S-T-U, is the dark light at the end of the alphabet. Abra is the opening white light of the sun at the beginning of the ecliptic, of the alphabet. The alphabet is the ecliptic. And so A-B will always be at the start of every alphabet, because A is the letter 1 and B is the letter 2. B is for both, 2. Bis in Italian means 2. Biscotto, biscuit, twice cooked. Why is a biscuit twice cooked? Because it begins, B, where it is born, in the number 2, because 2 begins the effect of electricity. So, and you look at words, I still haven't even touched on the words that, I'm just doing TM or DM, but when you start with a BM, born, beam, beam of light, born at the beginning, bon, my name, good, bonacci, bon is God, he is the good God, so bon, born, beam, all of these other words, I've got thousands and thousands of those in all languages, which go back to the force of electricity, which is bifurcated to the force of 2, the twain force of turning. All of these are atomic words, friends. And so every language will start with alphabet, A, B, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. The number 1 doing its work of uniting, the number 2 doing its work of dividing. And that's all that's going on, guys. Everything is turning, being born, twisting, doing 2 things, born of 1 thing. By paying attention, the languages are already there. They've already been produced by light. This is why the Bible says, in the days of Babylon, in Nimrod, which is an anagram for idiom, Nimrod, God, generation, operation, dissolution, came down and confused To fuse means to syncretize. Con means with. So he with-fused all the languages. It's not taken to mean that he confused them and he created all the languages. No, 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 because there are not languages. There is one language. You only need to pay attention. I've already showed you great examples of, how all the languages carry the same truth. Dan in Japanese means man, dansei, and in English it does too. Andrew, andros, the one with the hand, the land, which is your body. You are made from the mud, backwards for dum, of the earth. You are made from the dung, the dust of the earth. These are all words for atom. Dust is backwards for dum, tum. We are made from what about the manure, man? So you just have to pay attention. How, if you believe that the languages are confusing, they are. They all fuse together into one language. Simple. As for the historicity of the English language, do not believe the academics with their PhD fathead diseases who tell you that English was a contrivance of man. Because these guys, these guys have got their brains, causing, too much friction and abrasion where they are truly confused in the negative sense. Because English has always been, always. Study the Bock Saga, B-O-C-K, from Finland. The Bock Saga tells you that English is a mixture of root language, root language, guys, and Barn language, the language of Barn, which is what the Finnish are speaking now. But the oldest saga on the planet, Bock's Saga, is teaching that English is a mixture of these two, the first and original and the second language ever on this planet. So please don't let anyone tell you that English is a mixture of, there's Greek, Latin, Norman, Anglo-Saxon, Teutonic, Scandinavian. No, it's not a mixture of these languages, and yet it is a mixture because they're all sisters. They're all fused. They're all confused. They all have to do with light, you see? And so all you need to do is pay attention. You see, I'm lucky because I am slightly advantaged because I'm a linguist, and I've always loved languages and spoken languages, and I'm lingual from when I was born. And that would be the language of Calabria. Notice the word Calabria has abra in it because the Calabrians, the good lips, Kali in Greek is good. Kali is also a Sanskrit word. So Calabria means good lips, and all the greatest philosophers in history, or at least a good handful of them, have lived in southern Italy, Calabria, which is the land of philosophers. And so with your labria, you can pronounce good philosophical words to invert the witchcraft and the spelling which has been done on us. We have had a number done on us by the sorcerers of language. You see, so don't let the people tell you that English is, 300 years old and the letter J was introduced here and there. Please know that the Jesuits and the oligarchs and the feudal lords, the controllers of this world, are telling us this. Look for yourself and discover that all languages are produced by light, not by men. And yet, by men, because men is mens rea. Rea is the consort of Saturn. Maria, hiding in the word bread, because Rhea is the goddess of bread and cereals. She is great G-R-E-A, Rhea, great, our great mother, Rhea. So men did produce the languages, but men's mind of man. Okay, so let's not fall in the trap, guys. Pay attention yourself so you don't suffer with cognitive dissonance. Oh, Greek was the mother of English. Oh, the Latins, it's mostly a Roman Romance language and blah, 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 Teutonic, Germanic, Anglo-Saxon, Norman. There is no division, friends, but syncretism. Don't let these institutions of crap. Yeah, X-ray. X-ray, X is the 24th letter of the alphabet. 666. 24 elders in the book of Revelation, because there are 12 cranial nerves that come from the cerebrum, the Lamb of God, the high ram in your body. And that ram, the lamb, is walking with 12 disciples. But those 12 cranial nerves are both twins. Hence, there are 24 cranial nerves. And X-ray, Ray is Ra, and the Ra, the sun god, is emanating rays of light. Hence, X-ray 6666. When you look at all the letters of the alphabet that have to do with 6, F is the 6th letter, L is the 12th, Ray, Ra, the letter R is the 18th, 666, for the element of argon, the boat. So F is for fire and phos, light, the number 6. L is for light, Elohim, the twisters, light. Ra is for abra, vibration, radio. Marconi called his device Ra, God, radio. And then X-ray. X is the completion. It's like a leaning down T, because T is static and X is dynamic. X-rays, God, light. Letters, numbers, and words. It is. We all do, even though, when we speak English, we're speaking partially legalese, and we are bound by legalese due to the conjurers and the sorcerers doing this to us. And even if our language is a little bit dim, backwards for, adim, even if it is a little bit dim, we all speak the language of light. Let it be known, and speak your light on the rooftop, sister. Yeah, I love his name. Look at names. Mark is Mars, and Rodan, Ra, and Don. Don is the Lord, Domus. All names, all of them. Look at my name, Santos, which is an anagram for Saturn. Santos, Saturn, which is the sun, or a refraction of the sun. Bonacci, Bon is God, good. So Marco Rodin, he's a wonderful genius, I think, who has discovered the Ennead, the number and the power of 9, 3, 6, and 9 that Tesla was talking about. And also Randy Powell. Check Randy Powell out. I did an interview with him on American Freedom Radio about 3 years ago. These two guys have got amazing insights into these wonderful numbers, the Ennead. And also, I forget, and I'm sorry for the brother, our French-speaking brother, who also is working with these two guys. And I also interviewed him on American Freedom Radio, but unfortunately I can't remember his name, and I do apologize to him, but there is another guy out there who's very, very good with numbers. Maybe one of the listeners knows who he is. He's got a very strong French accent, and he's teaching exquisite things about numbers and their power, and he's really one worth researching. But thumbs up to Marco Rodin, thumbs up to all the researchers out there who are bringing the light forward, and thumbs down to all the shills out there who are attacking them, and many of them there are. For instance, the YouTube channel called Doazik. Dear friends, please go out there and make sure you give it thumbs down. And Awake Productions, please go out of your way, spread the word, give these shills thumbs down, and make some complaints to YouTube and get them off the internet and wipe these asswipes off the face of the earth in terms of shutting them up, because they're a bunch of ignoramuses and dupes, and they will sell their mothers, who are prostitutes probably, to the other pimps who were born in brothels, and get them off the internet altogether. Awake Productions, shame on you, you creep. Mark Dunce is his name, and there's another one called Chris White, another nappy-wearing Jesus is coming in the clouds, and Santos is wrong, and astrotheology is wrong. Just a bunch of nappy wearers. And there's another one called Keith Truth, more like Keith Struth, you're an idiot. Go out of your way to Mark Dunce. Get these guys and put them in their place. You don't have to, of course. It's a little bit nasty, but sorry, guys. I'm just telling you that what you see is what you get. But I enjoy going out of my way. Please go and enjoy the comments that I've made to Doazik, which I call Do-a-Dick, because what he's doing is he's basically just a waster of the holy seed of the Lamb of God. And his cerebrum's quite empty. So try and help them to save these guys to come back to the light. Yeah, and please go out of your way to forward this presentation to them, and so that we will name these creeps and expose them to the light, so that what happens is when the dark ones come to the light, like vampires and bats, they screech and squeal because they are exposed. Morons that take a pay packet from Popey Poo to keep people trapped in the corporate world of stupidity. Doazik, which is an anagram for Zodiac. What an imbecile. What a poor, poor creature. I wonder whether he's bold enough to show his face so people can see what a true masturbator looks like. And by the way, I don't have anything against that word. It's a beautiful word. But what I mean is the ones who, expend their liquids, for the love of pleasure, just wantonly, like Onan did, and he was put to death. And by the way, in Japan, a masturbator is called an onanisto. Comes from the word in Genesis for one of the children of Judah who was wasting his seed. Instead of giving it to Tamar, T-A-M, Tam, atom, instead of giving his seed and to give children to Judah, the line of the Jews, Onan, the onanisto, was wasting his seed. That's what Doazik is. So feel free to call him a onanisto. It's up to you. I mean, if you're a nice person and you don't like doing that, well and good. But I'm not a nice person, so I do that.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's wonderful, because, the Portuguese and the French and the Italians and the Spanish, they roll the R. Now, in English, we've lost that, you see, but I have encouraged many people of the English-speaking idiom to try and practice rolling the R, because they will get much healing from that rhotic sound. It's a really good practice, whether you have to do it in the shower or when you're driving or in private, so you don't get laughed at. But even if you do get laughed at, so what, enjoy the laughter. Laughter with an S in front of it is slaughter, so laugh away all the fools who think they are, so clever. Well, never mind. You're not losing anything at all. Don't be disadvantaged by anything. But, maybe you can just pronounce words that have the R in it anyway. One of the most holy words you can say is Israel, atom, Hare Krishna. Look at what the Hare Krishnas do. They have 16 words, okay? 16. 1 plus 6 equals 7. Perfect mantra. Mantra. And they say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 16 words, each with an R in them, because the rhotic is the most holy, resh. That Ra word is so, so divine. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, the high Ram, Rama. The Ram is the lamb, is the lamp, light. And he is always the hero and the Horus, Haru, Heru, Salem, the peace of the high lamb. So do praise the lamb, and I will do probably next week. What's the title of next week's show? What we'll do is we'll do the red and the blue, because the red and the blue is simply the ram and the lamb. So let's call it the red and the blue and the ram and the lamb, and let's have some fun and get your notebooks out, because you're going to want to take notes on next week's show, guys, because I'm going to introduce whole new concepts and whole new words to add to what you've already done. And if you've only heard this show, go back and listen to the other 3 archived shows. Go back and watch the presentation, Atom and the Ecliptic. I think I called it the Lamb of God or something. Atom, Atom. Please try and make some time before next week, otherwise you're just gonna fall back. And I am appealing to everyone listening that if this system continues to harass the legal name Santo Bonacci, and try to create joinder and surety with my body, things may change in February for me. So these shows are going to be treasures that I'm doing just in case I have to, let's say, disappear. And this reminds me, friends, anyone listening that has recording abilities through Skype and has a YouTube channel where they can post, or a blog page where they can post a video, I'm going to make a 2 or 3 minute video, and I'm going to make a public statement for me versus Babylon the Great. And I want to have a group call, and I want as many people as possible to get on Skype that day. It will be around about this time in 2 or 3 days. And I want anyone who has recording abilities and uploading abilities, because I want it to go out to as much publish internet capacity as possible. Please help me, because I'm going to make a public statement, because I know that the controllers that think that they are going to try and squash syncretism by coming after the presumed surety, which they have no authority to do so. I know that most of you good people understand what I'm saying, and this is why I have expended as much energy as I can to make presentations and shows as much as possible, should and if that situation should arise. So I am reaching out to people. If you love light, join me, because we will be making a stand, and we will be exposing the corruption. And this may be the last stand whereby the promised land will return and paradise to this planet. And we do have the solutions, guys. You don't have to be a fathead diseaser to join the Club of Rome and the Bilderbergers and the CFR and the Royal blah 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 and the Vatican and all of these clubs, these think tanks, which are really just disgusting, dead, corporate, murderous, blood-shedding machines. We have the solutions. We are the solution. Know who you are not, rather than know who you are, because it's easier. You are not a person. You do not commit personage. You are not a criminal. You are not a hater. You are not a divider. You are a syncretist by nature. So join me, brothers. It's what I'm here for. I'm reaching out, and we will prevail. We have prevailed. So now's the time. Carpe diem, omnia vincit veritas. Guys, we can do it, and we are doing it, and the end of the story is ours. Ours is the end of the matter. We will win. We are winning. And by doing so, we will help them from harming themselves further. All these bar members are harming themselves. They are harming themselves. It is our obligation to stop them, to bring this to their attention. If you do nothing, you will suffer for as long as it takes for you to start doing something. Any of my information, anything that I've ever released, please put it through your channel, and primarily. And I encourage anyone else who has something similar to share this information, because if I am not able to attend to responding to Facebook messages and email messages and Skype messages and to make presentations or shows in the near future, I'm asking for people to, when Simonton, who is now dead, was making havoc for syncretism, and other entities like the Dolezals, criminals, a gang of criminals, and other entities who have tried to snuff out syncretism and decry it and diss it, and they will fail abysmally, and we will grow. Please join my contacts and all of my details and add them to your site, and just start doing these things now. Yep, absolutely. And so all of these guys, you know, just remember what happened to Giordano Bruno on the 16th, I think it's the 11th of February, 1600. You know, his tongue was pulled out in the Campo dei Fiori, in the Piazza dei Fiori in Rome, and you can see a short video of me and the Italian syncretic group in Rome at the monument of Giordano Bruno, and we gave 30 minutes of silence to him to let him know that he did not die in vain, because syncretism is still around. He was killed. Giovanni Pico della Mirandola was killed. Look, how many of these? And so this is what they are doing. You know, I am sharing syncretism once again on this planet, and the powers that be, the ones who are working behind persons in the dark, are not appreciating this, because the light is being shined on these parasitic pimps, vampires, who work for the pimpocracy. It's not an oligarchy. It's not feudalism, corporatism, fascism, Nazism, or whatever you want to call it. It's pimpocracy, dear friends. And pimps don't do any work. They just make money from the work of others, from their sweat equity. We are not bonded. We are not slaves. We are not surety. Goodbye, Rome. The fourth captivity. Go hell. Yes, they are murderers. I deliberately emphasized murd, because as the Italian word merda for shit, merda, murder, is backwards for domus. They are the worshippers of domus, domani. They are the tomorrow people of the one who is coming in the clouds. Just wait. There he is. He's coming. Oh, look. It's Jesus. He's coming in the clouds. Oh, no. It's a pelican. And whoops, he's done a poo, and it's landed on my face. Well, never mind. He's still coming. Oh, there he is. Keep waiting. In the meantime, the dominion of Christendom will sodomize you for all eternity if you wish to wait for the coming one. It's now, folks. Thanks, friends.